Hello and welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast. It is May 27th. And I don't know how long it's been. I don't want to guess, but it's been a long time, man. It's been a long time since Diego Lorijn and Diego Lorijn, your favorite culé, as it says right on the screen, since Diego Lorijn and I sat down with each other and had a conversation that wasn't like a quick WhatsApp voice note, sending each other memes on Instagram, like a real, a podcast, a conversation. Finally, man, long overdue. I was traveling. Diego did hold it down for our members over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. An absolute nuclear explosion episode he recorded the day that Xavi got sacked. So if you're not a member, you missed out on that. Those fireworks. Diego, welcome you back. Welcome myself back.
Kiyan,
Welcome.
Kiyan, how you doing? Kiyan, I was expecting a Kiyan Sobhani. Hey, welcome to Churros.
Amen.
Hey, I love these little tiny espressos. So, hey.
I miss those. It's been like almost a week I've been home now. So since I lost my Italian accent, it's gone.
It's been a week. No, you just touched down. It is Monday, man. When did you get back? Surely during the weekend.
It's been like 4 or 5 days, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You've been getting climatized. You lost the whole Italian touch already. Let me get you up.
Beautiful
on the
place
screen here. Man, you went to some beautiful places.
Yeah. I really
with friends and your loved one and your partner.
Yeah, there was a group of us, and to be quite honest with you, I really just wanted to go for a wedding in Lake Como, I was like 4 days in and out. Let's get out of there. I was hoodwinked, convinced into doing, no, let's go to Rome and Florence and Venice. Like, I don't care about this, man. I go to Europe every single month. I've seen it, but you know what?
Dude, you go to football stadiums
mostly
Madrid.
I was very happy I went. I was very happy.
Of course, man. You got to take that opportunity. It's good that your wife held you down at gunpoint. I'm sure she had to twist your arm very hard to be like, come on, let's go on a near-month holiday with our best friends and look awesome and enjoy Italy and its countryside and its food and indulge in its culture. And you're like, I don't care, man. I go to the Bernabeu like once a month. That's like...
I got shit to do. It's a lot of time where I'm not like, podcasting.
Let me rephrase that. Let me add, let's leave our kids with our parents and be sans kiddos for a good 3 weeks. I mean, man, I hope you lapped it up for all
it was good.
Parents out there. That was a luxury. It's one for the books. It looked like a very a trip worthwhile, and I'm happy you enjoyed it. I'm happy to greet you back here on this podcast. Indeed, we have been holding it down. I've noticed on Twitter some people saying, "Oh man, where are the churros at?" I noticed that we need to have its exposure not necessarily just be kind of so heavily linked on your YouTube, but even like I wasn't putting out the audio files on the Spotify's and the Apple Pods. So a lot of people genuinely thought that we had been not producing content, but that's why it's so important to subscribe to patreon.com, because those free episodes, I'll put them on there. Yes or yes. I can make things free, free content available for free subscribers. So go to patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Even if you're just subscribing for free, you missed out on content, as well as my D-Spot channel, which, Kiyan, I'm happy to say we are successfully streaming live from at the moment. So maybe that gives a little bit more of a culé vibe and seek, that balance that we're seeking between culés and Madridistas. Although recently, even on D-Spot, the majority of my viewers seem to be Madridistas, respectful ones, may I add. So it has been a lot of fun. So much to get through, Kiyan. Such little time. So just one more time for housekeeping sake, for you, the watcher, the listener, make sure you subscribe to our Patreon edition at the very least, to make sure you never miss any out on any of the content that we put out there consistently. We never fail you, even when it's just one of us holding down the
That's
fort.
true. We do fail our free audience quite a bit, but we never fail our members. Never.
So here we are.
We got
It
to
is
start
the end of the
somewhere.
season. The end of the season. Well, it's might as well start at the end, right? The season is done. It's the end of the season. 38 match days have been played. Next up is international football, the Euro Cup. But a lot has happened between the start of May and now, of course. There's still the Champions League final left to play for you guys. I kind of almost skipped over that. It's not that important anyway.
Even I forget sometimes. It really does feel like the season is over. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, okay, Barca versus Sevilla. I don't give a fuck. Like Manchester United versus Manchester City was like the one last game that felt like something significant.
Yeah.
I'm watching Palmeiras right now.
Okay.
Next game is on Thursday. Got to see Endrick play. That's about it. I don't know. There's not much.
Endrick is, of course, somebody you got to keep an eye on. Looking forward to the Euros. Looking forward to this Champions League final. Congrats, I should say as well, to our Barca Femení supporters. I know we have so many of them on Managing Madrid and D-Spot. No, all jokes aside, I mean, definitely worth a mention. If anybody are doing Barca proud right now, it's this women's team winning the quadruple, 4 titles, doing so in convincing fashion. I mean, just this dynasty of the Barca women's team is to continue to cement itself as one of the best teams in sports history to have graced, in this case, the sport of football. And let's hope it can continue. It was, I was excited to watch the final. It was, I have to say, a strange one, of course, given the news and given the importance of the first team and the circus that has been. It was kind of like watching that final and fearing that we were going to lose it. And it was just, the fact that the women didn't was definitely a moment of dulce, a sweet moment. As the attention now shifts back to the men's team and seeing how we're going to move forward. Xavi is gone, Kiyan, as you will have undoubtedly caught wind of. The quick reversal, Laporta giving the head coach, the ex-manager now, the kiss of death. 4 weeks ago, it was tears in the press conference between President Laporta and Xavi. The official photo for his continuity for the next season was confirmed. But, this Barca season wouldn't have been complete without one last plot twist to shake us up, shake us up a little bit more. And Xavi will no longer be the manager now, and as we await the official announcement of what is most likely going to be a German manager, taking over the job.
Look, man, you got to open up a little bit more than that. I want to see the guns out. I want to see you taking out the machete, the bazooka, the grenades.
You can catch up on what you've been missing on Churros. Just go to patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. I have done that for 2 at least episodes. So I'm not going to be guns blazing here. Definitely not for free. I mean, I can literally get fired for anything I say. So the guns blazing is behind a paywall. But
how much has Laporta's legacy taken a hit? Would you say before he came back the second time, was he Barcelona's greatest president ever?
Yeah, arguably.
Yeah. Is it becoming more arguable now? Like, is it like, are people like, what happened, Joan?
Well, there's just like Florentino Perez, there's definitely a first phase and a second phase, or a stage or a stint, and this second one definitely would seem a whole lot more. Let's just say, I think in that first phase, that Laporta had in his favor was the people that he was surrounding himself with. I mean, it's quite a common saying, right? If you want to be a successful boss, CEO, leader, surround yourself by people who are smarter than you. And I think that holds a lot of weight and truth, perhaps in this case, or in any case, really. But that first time he had, Johan Cruyff as a kind of a primary voice of reason when it came to football. its decisions, as well as Chiki Begiristain, of course, and Soriano, who was much more focused on the business end. But mm, uh, he trusted those people around him to make the right decisions in areas that he was not as well versed in. And I think, we saw that with Frank Rijkaard when it was all looking like Rijkaard was going to get the sack, and had it been Rosé's way, he would have hit the sack, and Scolari would have come in. It was Cruyff that said, "Look, keep him." And in conversations with, again, the sporting staff and everyone, they got in the right piece to the puzzle, and in that moment it was Edgar Davids. But that project became successful. Then it was that appointment of a Pep Guardiola, also trusting him despite a rocky start, to put his faith in Pep and let him make the right decisions, and so on. Anyway, this time it seems a lot more. Maybe we're seeing more of an emotional Laporta. I think that's maybe fair to say. He's older as well. We know that the older we get as men, the more female hormones beset us, and we become a little bit more.
That's why you got to get on the testosterone, bro.
Yeah,
it's time.
Joan
Laporta has to get on some TRT. He has to. I think he'll get in great shape. He'll make better decisions.
His health issues have something to do with it. It's a different Laporta, this time around. When I think there's a lot that has been said as to what took place 4 weeks ago, why that took place, why the change of opinion now so drastically. A lot has been said, and again, go over to churros.com patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas for a little bit more insight. I'm happy to share my opinions here, but we got to tread cautiously.
There was a lot of theorizing about how much of this has to do with Deco, and I'm not informed enough on the subject, other than just kind of things you read here and there. You don't know how much is true unless you're there behind the scenes. But then there was that pitch side interview that Xavi had after the Sevilla game with DAZN, where I thought it was quite telling, where he said, do I have the quote? He says, "Why didn't Deco's words from a few months ago generate as many problems as mine? It seems like from day one, my words have generated an earthquake. I don't really know why." And when I read that, I was like, okay, that's pretty telling. Like, obviously there was something there, which goes back like what, 15-ish, 20 years, when Xavi wanted Deco out as a player, which maybe Deco remembered. Like, he circled this day, like, one day I'm going to be the sporting director. He's going to come back and I'm going to humiliate him. It seemed to have some kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, there's I think that holds some weight. There's a bit of truth in that. It was again, at the time, quite widely reported that when Pep made it very clear, he said, "You and you, I want both of you out." One of those yous was Ronaldinho, and the other one was Deco. And Xavi was not somebody that was going to stand away in that decision. In fact, he was quite a proponent, let's say, quite convinced that they were maybe not a good influence on a very impressionable and young emerging star that was Leo Messi at the time. So maybe Deco is somebody that holds a grudge. The thing is, like, even Xavi himself, there is no right or wrong, black or white in this, as there never is. As we like to say on this pod, one of your favorite saying, Kiyan's, right? The truth lies somewhere in the middle. And if anything, something that has been lacking from Xavi's side has been perhaps a bit of a more honest, truthful look at himself, and practicing a little bit of self-criticism, because we've certainly have heard a Xavi that has maybe lacked that critical touch, and all season long. I mean, he has, for example, sworn that the team has been playing better this season than last season. And even though statistically, perhaps you can, certainly not defensively and offensively. I mean, as a statement as a whole, and in that, I would disagree with that statement as a whole, right? But perhaps even though statistically it might hold some weight, there's a lot of talk, for example, that in the 102 games or so that Xavi has managed, if you put that next to an Ancelotti's record over the span of 102, I think Xavi was off by 3 points or something like that. And I think his success rate has been decent as well. I mean, certainly finishing a season with 85 points is nothing embarrassing. Last season, we won the league with 88 points. And I read somewhere that 85 points historically in La Liga would have won you like 70% of the league titles. So, but I think still, despite that, we've missed something from this team. There's not been something quite right about how we have been playing, and that's with all the adversities, from not playing at home to injuries to decisive refereeing decisions to you name it, el entorno, right, the surrounding, the famous environment. But still, you've missed perhaps a more reflective and self-critical Xavi, who reportedly was very adamant when talking to Laporta, that famous sushi night, that sushi dinner, where he convinced Laporta that he had both the motivation and the backing of the locker room to continue for another season. And at the same time, reports are going around that Xavi was very adamant as well in certain players not being there next season. And again, this is just what is reported. What I'm reporting here is nothing. It's stated in many news outlets. They put names behind these certain players. I think nobody will be necessarily surprised to hear any of the names of those players that supposedly Xavi wanted out for next season. And Laporta, he simply cannot get rid of certain players, right? That maybe do have heavy contracts and will be difficult to move. So that was one of the reasons why, after that meeting, when Laporta caved in and said, "Okay, let's like I will accept your decision to stay," and as well accept to come out in a press conference with you to show my backing, which was something that Xavi had requested as well, because there are reports that say Laporta was very reluctant to do any of this before the end of the season. But as I was alluding to before, we're maybe talking about a Laporta that is a little bit more emotional and therefore swayed by the moment. And so anyway, I mean, yeah. Stop me, Kiyan.
Well, did Xavi actually come out and say that Barca were better this season than last season? I saw
He's
that he
repeatedly said that.
Okay, because the only thing I remember for sure was that he said the 4 games against Girona and Real Madrid we were better, but I didn't see that he said that the team was better as a whole. I mean, the numbers don't even back that up. Like you guys created less this year and conceded way more this year. So for sure, inarguably, the defense was worse. And also, from a numerical standpoint, the offense was slightly worse too, both in terms of efficiency, but also in terms of creation. You hit the nail on the head when you said I think there was a lack of self-criticism and a lack of self-reflection. And that has been apparent to me about Xavi this whole time. The question is now, what does this look like under Hansi Flick? Because, as you know, one criticism I continually have of Barca is that they play one way and one way only. And Hansi Flick, for better or worse, kind of fits that mold. He wants to play a very high line, aggressive, and gung-ho football. And, not that it matters in this moment right now. We have to see it, but apparently Mbappe is coming over, and you think about like what does the Classico look like with when you play a high line and you don't have a DM. Who's the DM? Where's your DM, Diego? Give me a defensive midfielder here. Who's the DM next season? You need someone to
Well,
organize this.
give first of all, I mean, let's see. There's an entire summer transfer window that still has to start and stop. So give
Okay.
Barca some time to recollect and restructure the first team, which inevitably will happen with a change of manager, let alone had Xavi stayed. So Xavi was very adamant about, for example, a Rodri, a Kimmich coming in, something that wasn't prioritized by at the time by Deco. Instead, a certain young, promising forward was brought in from Brazil for reportedly a hefty sum of money, certainly in Barca's case, right? 30 million plus double that in add-ons. And Xavi then goes out openly and says that he never wanted that. How often have we not seen that in cases in football clubs everywhere, of course, but where there is simply no synergy in between the sporting director and the coach, and that already, for example, when Xavi was first introduced as a manager, he was very openly saying how happy he was he had Jordi Cruyff and Mateo Alemán next to him, and he said our synergy, right, our unity, we're all rowing the same direction, we're all on board, and missing those two figures, and instead getting a rencoroso or no, a grudge holding Deco that and I don't know. Again, this is all we don't know this, right? But it's certainly something that the media likes to entertain. That the feeling that closeness, let's say, wasn't kind of missing. It wasn't really there the same way it was when Jordi Cruyff and Mateo Alemán were there. So, and you see it, right? Because even publicly, Deco would sometimes contradict things Xavi said. Like I'm saying publicly, like a Movistar, like the the primetime TV for football matches on paid network. At halftime, you would see the pitch side reporter have the halftime interview with the Deco, and I forget what it was exactly, but Xavi had said something in the match press conference, and Deco literally the day after goes and says, "No, that is absolutely not the case," and completely contradicts what Xavi had mentioned the day before, and vice versa. Right now, we're hearing Xavi talking about, "I never asked for Victor Roque in the first place." And so yeah.
Well, I mean, that whole thing was weird too, because if you remember, you go back like 6 months ago before Vitor Roque came over, Xavi said we want to bring him over now. Like, we don't want to wait. But I like, you know what, Diego, man, like it's really funny listening to all this. When growing up, it was Real Madrid who could not stay out of the news. There was every day there was some kind of polemic or drama. And I don't know, it's just been calm for a few years now, relatively. Like hasn't been, I would say, 100% smooth sailing, but it's kind of weird to be on the calm end of this now, and just really nice to sit back and enjoy the fireworks from this point of view. We have to move on, kind of an interesting time, but I did want to ask you, if we're going reverse chronological order now, probably the last thing that happened was, and I'm very curious to get your opinion on this, just the Kroos farewell. As a anti-Madridista, anti-German, when we're all sitting there crying and sobbing, and Kroos is with his kids crying, are you just out of your couch, just like with your party hat, like, fuck yeah, this guy's leaving, he's gone out of our lives? What is going through your head? Do you care? Are you neutral? Are you celebrating? What are you thinking?
When was that game?
You're being serious?
No, I did not watch it, man. You have no idea the hours that I've been working. I've had like after midnight shifts. My wife has been out of town. I have had my father-in-law in the hospital for 3 weeks. I've had the kids to myself. If you think I'm sitting there chilling, watching Kroos's farewell party, him sobbing with his kids, then you've been in Italy for too long. Hello. Welcome back to
at least tell me you've seen some images, highlights, something.
I honestly, I have not.
Were you aware that this happened? Did you know Toni Kroos was retiring?
I did know. I did catch wind of that.
All right.
And how did I feel about that? Just indifferent. I mean, just
Okay.
it's now he's retiring. Good for him. I figured like he's probably too excited about doing his podcast, and he's like, "This is perfect. 10 years at Madrid, last final, my last dance. I can talk about it, sell it on my pod, and why am I? I'm Toni Kroos. Like I've achieved everything. And
Okay. Well, let me rephrase it
he's
then.
going to play the Euros, obviously, right, as well. So he's back with the German national side.
That'll be his last one.
That'll be his last. Yeah.
Then let me rephrase the question. How often and who are they? Because it's probably a very small group of people. And you can bring basketball into the picture too. How often do you see a athlete go out at the top and not like wait till he declines? It's rare, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like
Super
who was
rare.
the last one?
I guess you could argue, LeBron, if he still now announces his retirement, like we haven't seen it's not been good for the Lakers, that's for sure. But
he's individually playing pretty well.
Individually playing well, correct. That's exactly. Like if he does the, I was going to say unthinkable, but it's actually very thinkable nowadays. And let's say trades to Golden State, then all of a sudden Golden State, who's in desperate need of another superhero, are back in the running to become league contender or title contenders rather. And so, but anyway, I mean, an athlete that has gone out at his prime is very rare. And I'm struggling right now. Maybe, yeah, I'm thinking like Nadal or Federer, Roger Federer. He was beset by injuries. Nadal is also, let's say he miraculously is able to play Roland Garros and win it, it's his tournament. Surely he will hang up his racket and say that's enough. That would be an example of somebody going out, still in his prime, I guess.
I mean, LeBron is MJ is the number one example, probably, right?
No.
Why?
Because his Wizard days are not.
Oh, okay, but we don't count that.
Kroos.
Come on. No, we don't count that.
Yeah, you got to count that. No, I do count that.
Really?
Yeah, because it hurt. Like it was kind of weird to see. Felt at the time. It just felt wrong. Quite frankly, like Jordan losing and stuff with like a Wizard jerseys and just surrounded by, that for me.
I don't know. In my mind, that it just basically does. I've erased that essentially as.
But that would be like Kroos now going to like Getafe or something, and just have 2 just dirt seasons, and where he's like a nice baller, but he's surrounded by nobodies and fighting. Wizards were never really even playoff contention. Like that was not a serious team, and he still played there. I mean, I forget. I think like 2 seasons at least.
Well, to me, that whole the Wizards stint with him was like, I'm already retired. I'm just kind of playing around for a couple years. I don't know, just having some fun. But I am retired. That's like the vibe I got from that whole thing. He was still very good. Like he was putting up 45 points, like All-Star game winners. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, at least he still got voted to the All-Star. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, it's incredibly rare. Incredibly rare. The one like that Real Madrid fans kept bringing up as a parallel was Zidane. But even I
thought of Zizou and I scrapped it. Go on, sorry.
Just that I think was Zidane remember that famous last game where
yes, Villarreal, right?
Villarreal, there's like a whole documentary of a camera that's only him, his family there, everyone's crying, he's crying.
Yeah.
And at that moment we kind of felt, and obviously how old was I then? I was 17 or something. I just remember thinking like, this is really sad, but he's not as good as he used to be. But the weird thing about him was that just like couple weeks later, he went to the World Cup and was like put in the tournament of his life, and he was way better.
Yeah.
Than we thought he was still at that level. So that was a weird one. But I mean, he was still pretty good. But yeah, but Kroos was a very unique situation, is my point.
I have one for you.
Yeah, tell me.
Andres Iniesta.
What?
No, this is a joke that only I find funny. It's because there's been these two pictures of Andres Iniesta going around. He's playing in Dubai now in the league in the United Arab Emirates in the UAE. And
He's still playing?
He's still playing. And there's these two pictures that are
I saw
going
the
around.
pictures. He looked
Yeah.
like abuelo.
He does look abuelito, and it's just very funny.
Oh, here's one. You would remember this better than I would. Magic Johnson.
Oof. Yeah, but dude, he like
He had, I guess
he was
declined.
he was
by then.
forced. He was
Yeah.
forced to leave. Like,
But still,
yeah, but
Well,
that's
the-
you don't want to have to leave because you're contracted the HIV virus.
of
That's
course,
not
no.
like
I'm
a-
just
a
saying
nice-
that, like, you know, he was still a good player then. Just going back to Kroos though, because he had talked about this after. He said that he almost kind of gives me a little bit of Jokic vibes in terms of, like, he loves playing it, obviously, but he's like, he kind of feels there's more to life, right? Like, he was
Mhm.
saying that, like, we're traveling every 3 days, hotels, airports. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that fun. Like, kind of excited to not do that anymore.
That's what I said. Like, I completely think that element, that part of it, just life, was the biggest deciding factor. And I meant didn't. That's why I wasn't kidding around when I mentioned the podcast. He has a good thing with his podcast. He probably
Yeah.
enjoys talking football, just about the game and just beyond it, with other, retired players, people from different walks of life, and it is very enjoyable. And why not do that when you're Toni Kroos and you've got, if your kids' life, your grandkids' life, sorted, you've won everything you could possibly win. You've got the Euros coming up. You've got a Champions League final coming up. It's like, it's a dream ending, man. And then, life takes over from there. Most players, like, from what you often hear or read, is that they become depressed because they miss that competitive element, right? But what they're really missing is that the reason to live, the reason to get up for on a daily basis. It's like, what am I going to do today? Well, Tony is definitely, I think, figured that out between, his pod, which is, I'm not a regular listener. Maybe I would like to be, actually. I could polish up my German.
Mean, it's in
now,
German.
if anything. I'm German. I fluently understand, if not
Wow.
speak German. Yeah,
You
yeah,
surprise me every day, bro.
You know, I
Man
speak
of
German.
many talents. Well, I thought
You
it
know I
was
speak
just Dutch.
No, again, go to patreon.com, Churros y Tácticas. The last pod I've just done, this is for you, Kiyan, but also the listeners. The last pod I just did for shits and giggles, and maybe in honor of a certain manager that might or might not be coaching Barca next. I did half the pod in German. Speaking in German.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not.
So why do you hate Germany so much?
I do not. I do not hate Germans or Germany. I am just simply Dutch, and there is a rivalry there that will never go away. And it's like Barca Madrid. I refuse. I will always be partial to the rivalry. These may they last forever and be long-standing and write many histories. Because I'll tell you what, the Germany-Holland rivalry is really watered down, and I hope that will never be the case between Barca and Madrid. The Germany-Holland rivalry is like, we got to step our fucking game up big time, Holland. Come on, Poland.
It's watered down because the Netherlands have struggled a little bit in the last however many years. And let's see what happens with Barca Madrid. There are some clues, but we'll see.
But listen, I feel like we which is fine, but we glossed over the appointment of the next Barca manager quite quite quickly. Again, if you want to get my opinion on who may or may not be the next manager, go over to patreon.com, Churros y Tácticas. But Yukian, from what you're reading in the papers, looks like there's a clear favorite. His name is Hansi Flick. He's Bayern's ex-manager, won the sextuple. He's also the ex-manager of the German national side, with which he has had that much success. Although he was a World Cup winner as assistant coach under Jurgi Löw. I don't know. I don't know what that was on your part. I know what it was on my part, but
I didn't. I thought we were talking about Jurgi Löw.
Yes, we were.
Well, he's done both of those things.
So he's won the World Cup as an assistant coach, and then obviously led the German national side.
People listening on Spotify, not watching YouTube, are hella confused right now.
Well, because this is funny to me because it's also an inside joke. It's between us Churros patrons.
That's not an inside joke. The whole world just already saw what you just did.
Yeah, whatever. It's something that we did on Churros y Tácticas on our Patreon. It's a Patreon inside joke. You got to subscribe to it. Yes. But what's your opinion? Again, I've voiced mine. I'm curious to know what you think. Because I quite frankly, I'll summarize mine. I don't know what to make of it. We go over his career, his track record as a coach, and my conclusion is I don't know what to make of this.
I already kind of said it. I mean, I think my criticism of Barca has been I think they would have been more successful in Europe had they been more adaptable tactically. And I just don't know if Hansi Flick is that kind of manager who will do that. I also have flashbulb memories of Rudiger looking like a headless chicken at the German national team trying to defend the high line by himself. And I picture Araujo in that situation, and I just wonder, could it just go terribly? But the thing is, domestically, I think it should be fine. And I think it'll probably allow you to play a dominant style of football. All this is very contingent of who you guys get in the summertime, I think, also. It's kind of hard to have the conversation now with the current squad.
So, Jesus, we completely strayed away from that, I feel. I was going to get to the Kimmich and the Zahahi and Hansi Flick link, that may be potentially an option, although it's an unlikely one because Kimmich will not come without a hefty price tag, and that obviously doesn't play in our favor. But yeah, I feel like we're circling back to you talking about the defensive, the holding midfield position, and I was going to talk about the potential arrival of a Kimmich.
If you get somebody like him, I think it helps change things. I don't know if Kimmich is the player he used to be either. Kimmich has expressed some interest in Barca before, right?
Kimmich. Jawohl.
Kimmich. So it remains to be seen. I just kind of, I guess, would be interested in seeing the final roster for next year. Yeah, one thing that we also glossed over with regards to Barca squad is that when we were talking about was Barca actually better this year than last year, this year there was a lot of injuries. And I think the concern with Barca is okay, well, next year Gavi's a new signing, Frankie and Pedri. But then my question is how much do you guys actually expect him to be healthy? Right?
I mean, this is, I don't want to even go down this road. You're talking about Pedri's health issues, right? Or Gavi, or who? Frankie,
all of them.
Well, sure, but okay, inshallah. I mean, what are you gonna say? Yeah. What are you gonna?
No, nothing. Yeah. I'm just saying that I've seen a lot of well, these guys will be back next year. I'm okay, well, we have to see that first. Let's see them be back and be on the field consistently. With Gavi's case, I think it was a bit of bad luck, but this is also on the back of all these debates about we're running these youngsters into the ground. Now Kubarsi, isn't Kubarsi going to the Olympics and the Euros, right?
I hope not. I don't know. Fermin could get called up. Shout out to Fermin. I love how he's ending the season. That's for me Xavi's legacy. Winning the first league without Messi, um, and the 15 players that he's allowed to debut and make their state their claim for the Barca first team, and I think many of them are here to stay.
Well, why don't we transition to talking about Spanish national team? Actually,
Okay, Shkuet.
you saw Luis de la Fuente's provisional
Original, yes.
squad.
29 players.
Yeah, did you have criticisms, concerns, praise? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you neutral? What are you feeling about that? See if I can bring it up on the screen too, so our listeners can see.
Primarily, and this is just kind of like what was my initial gut reflection or gut instinct was, no injuries, please. All these young players that he's called up for Barca, I think it's 5 in total. Cubarsí, Lamine Yamal, Fermin Lopez, Pedri, and no, missing one. I know he's called up Gavi, even though he won't be able to play. No, missing one. No sé. But initially it's just kind of like, I hope these guys are not going to play the Euros and the Olympics, and we're going to see another Pedri repeat, a case where they're just going to arrive at the preseason already burnt out. And I haven't really had a extensive or like deep critical look at all the players that he's called up who could get the cut by, I think it was June 7th. 3 players need to go. We can only take a squad of 26. And who he hasn't taken. So you got it there. Nice. I don't think there were many surprises, if I'm quite honest. Nothing that stood out to me like, oh, what? It just annoyed me how he said Marcucurella. It's like, dude, it's at least pronounce it right. No,
Cucurella. He said that in the press conference.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't see that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Cucurella has just been completely Americanized, Britishized, whatever the word is.
Yeah, right.
He's in the UK now, so they call him Cucurella. But I think there are surprises to me, but also there are no surprises because I'm done being surprised with Spanish national team call-ups. So I'm not actually surprised, but I do think there were a few cases.
I can guess what they were.
Oh, please do. I would like to know what your guesses are.
Well, Lucas Vázquez, obviously. That's an easy one.
He was one. I don't think there are absolutely glaring omissions, but there's a few that I thought of. Vasquez is one because of his experience and because of the level he has been playing at this year. I think Miguel Gutierrez is having a better season than Marc Cucurella. I think Pau Torres is actually having a good year. I think with players like Pau Torres, for example, maybe the concern was that he's playing good at club level, but his national team appearances haven't been as good. Pedro Porro fits in that category too. Pedro Porro is better than Jesus Navas.
Yeah, that's for me was the big one, I guess. Jesus Navas and leaving out a Pedro Porro.
Yeah. But Pedro Porro kind of fits in the category of like good at club level. National team appearances haven't been that good. You look at that Scotland game, not great. But is that really a kind of a fair barometer? I don't know. Like Luis de la Fuente has his methods, his ideologies, or whatever. There was someone else. I mean, it's done now. It doesn't matter. There's no point ruminating on it now. But I think Brahim would have been really useful in this squad. And obviously, it's not a discussion anymore. He's gone to Morocco. And who was the other one? Oh, this one doesn't matter anymore either. But had Isco not got the injury, it would have been really tough to admit him if he was going to admit him. Just if he wasn't injured, if he was healthy.
Yeah, I don't know what he's definitely, done he's merited of a name or at least a call up. He's been good for Betis. I just don't know what weight he holds in the Spain dressing room. I don't know if Luis de la Fuente wants a character like Isco.
What does that mean? What's wrong with his character?
I don't know. He carries with him a little bit of a reputation, maybe. I don't know if he wants to keep, let's say, a stricter order in a locker room, and for a knockout tournament like this. I mean, but anyway, it's he's injured, so I think it's right that he wasn't called up.
Well, obviously that part, yes, but if had he not been injured, it would have been, I think, crazy to admit him. But I wouldn't have been surprised if he was admitted. I mean, he was one of the best players in the league this season. Full stop.
Yes, yeah.
Sergio Ramos, but
dude,
I get it, because
he hasn't been called up for how long now? Come on.
Well, that's why it's not surprising. But I'm just going based on merit. I think he's had a good season.
So basically, Madridistas or ex-Madridistas.
Yes, Diego. All the Madridistas. Paulo
just
Torres,
summarize
Pedro
it.
Porro, all the Madridistas.
Vasquez, Isco, and Ramos. Got it. Well, now that that's clear.
Personally, I think Eric Garcia should have been called up.
Listen, he's had a fucking damn good season.
What about that kid from the Barca U12
he's had a very good season.
He had a great season. Barca U12 team.
You're you're in a Champions League final and you're here being salty because our young emerging stars are being called up
Diego,
over your has-beens. Over your has-beens. Stop being salty.
I'm done supporting Spain.
Stop. You're so salty.
I'm telling you what I'm supporting. I'm supporting.
Okay. Well, then never talk about we
Germany.
Again.
I'm supporting Germany.
Never talk about we again. I don't want to hear that word come out of your mouth when you're talking about Spain. You chaquetero que eres, un chaquetero.
If Germany wins the Euros,
Ramos.
You're good. If Germany wins the Euros, Diego,
get out of here.
You got to come on record to just completely come out and objectively say who is the greater all-time midfielder between him and Xavi. Just saying. I'm rooting for Kroos. I'm rooting for Jude. I'm rooting for the entire Real Madrid French national team. There's 12 of them at this point. We got 2 minutes.
Colors flaunt, my friend.
We got 2 minutes and 3 super chats.
So hold on. So by the way, Nadal has just been eliminated from Roland Garros. So that retirement is not going to happen.
You must be ecstatic.
The Super League. You see, I'm not like you. I actually am genuinely, as a Spanish person, support Spain in different sports. But
are you supporting Luka Doncic?
Always supported Nadal. No, just because I absolutely have fallen in love with Ant-Man. He's become one of my favorite ballers since the Sun series. And
I've been watching what Luka Doncic is doing right now?
Of course I'm watching it. Of course. Okay. Dude, do you think I'm not glued to that series like flies on shit? I've been watching all the Wolves series. It's the only NBA I've watched all season. I'm loving it. Also, mind you, by the way, my big sis, Fief, has been living in Minnesota for freaking forever, it feels like. So I actually have family in Minnesota. Let's go Wolves. But Doncic and Kyle have been very aggressive, and I'm just loving this series. I wish the Wolves would have won some, though, but looks like it is now games to the match for sure.
All right, now we have 1 minute and 3 super chats.
Great.
Ramkey,
and I still haven't given you the Super League news. Looks like the Super League has the green light.
I saw that, but that didn't mean anything to me because nothing really changed. All they're saying is that UEFA can't
there's the green, right? So it is allowed to exist. Now let's see what happens.
Well, that already kind of happened, but anyway.
But it was reaffirmed. There was still this court case, this final judgment, let's say, pending. Okay, let's go to Super Chat.
Our YouTube member Ramkey says, every time I feel bad for you, Diego, I play the Churros clip where you went 4 minutes bragging for Real Madrid's trophyless season, and it was a season where Atletico Madrid won, not even Barca.
Great, Ramkey. Thank you for your donation. Next.
he, what? Ural Desai says, Diego, would you take Rodri for Lamine Yamal straight swap?
No.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't either if I was a Barca fan. Sheikh Hatiri says, don't you need 100 million plus revenue before signing new players? How are you going to sign Kimmich or even Alex Garcia?
Yeah, so I don't know the exact numbers. They swing, they vary between anywhere between 70 to 100. It's a significant amount. That's when the talks of certain player transfers start to take place. You're talking names that certainly could offer up those types of sums of money in the summer transfer window. The talks of deals start to heat up as well. We will have to wait and see how this how the summer transfer window will transpire, the conditions that Barca will have to operate under throughout the summer transfer window, and that will dictate whether or not a Kimmich or an Alex Garcia are viable or not. I don't know why.
I think Laporta cut your feed up.
That's exactly
Laporta made a call to YouTube. It was like, this guy's talking way too much. And he's like, as soon as he heard you say you wouldn't swap Yamal for Rodri, he's like, this guy's out of his mind. Yamal's on the transfer market as we speak. We're bringing Rodri in. All right, we got to go. Thank you guys for tuning in. We actually, if you're a Managing Madrid member, you can basically just click a couple of buttons and join us live on StreamYard in like 30 seconds. We're doing a call for our members. But if not, Diego and I are going to be back on later this week, either Thursday or Friday, over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas for the really juicy stuff. And if you want to just hear everything Diego said, all the inside information from Barcelona, that went up for Churros patrons on Friday. Yeah. Diego is frozen now. All right.
Am I back?
He's back. You're back.
I'm back.
All right, bro.
Yeah, going over there. You got it all. All the opinions and very latest. Churros y Tácticas, patreon.com. Go. Enjoy your Managing Madrid pod. Good to have you back, Kiyan.
Thanks, man. Good chatting with you as always. Peace out.
As always. Peace.